Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Take 5. We haven't done this for a few weeks, and if you're not familiar with our Take 5 segment, this is where we take around 5 minutes out of your day and give you a bit of a preview of what we're going to be looking at and discussing on Sunday coming up. And so the Sunday that I'm referring to that is coming up is the 6th of June. It is the first Sunday of the month of June, and we hope that you'll be able to join us in person, live in person at 10 o'clock at Faith Church here in Martinsville. If not, always look for our teaching on YouTube. You can connect through it on Facebook, and we hope either one of those options, either live or in person or on YouTube, you'll be able to join us. Well, we're jumping back into our Redefine series, and through our Redefine series throughout the last few months, we've been looking specifically at this topic of greatness. And the reason why we're calling it a redefine or a redefine series is because Jesus has a redefinition of greatness. And there are these various statements throughout all the Gospels where Jesus says, if you want to be great, in my kingdom, you need to learn to be the least. And there are, if you want to be first, if you want to be last. And I want to focus on, just for the next couple minutes, one of these redefining statements where Jesus says, okay, you're going to have a redefinition of what your life purpose is. And the way that Jesus says it, he says, if you want to find your life, you need to lose your life for my sake. So what in the world does Jesus mean by this? Well, most of our lives, if we're honest, our definition of a great life really involves a couple of things. One is the absence of pain and suffering. If it came down to us, and if we were given a choice of what we want to or what we do not want to experience in our life, I would imagine most of us would choose, well, I want my life to be pretty much smooth sailing. I want to be protected. I want to be protected from physical harm, from financial harm, from relational harm. I want my life to be free. I want there to be an absence of these things that make life difficult. And so there's this idea of protection, right? And there's also this idea of provision. Many of us, we don't desire to be extremely wealthy, but we want to be provided for. And so if given our choice, we would say, when it comes down to us, if you give us a definition of what a great life is, there's this idea of protection, physical protection, financial protection, relational protection, these things that we just don't want to experience in life. But we always kind of know they're going to come, right? And this idea of provision, so provision and protection. But yet Jesus gives us this definition of a great life in terms of purpose. And we see this all throughout the scripture, this idea that, and it's this word transcendence, it's this idea of living for something bigger than yourself. It is ingrained in our spiritual DNA, isn't it? In fact, you go to the book of Genesis, before sin even entered into the world, Adam was created in the image of God, and we see that God was at work in creation. He worked for 6 days, and on the seventh day, he rested, and that was quite a work of creation, right? And yet man was created in the image of God with this idea of work. This idea that Adam was placed in the garden, and there was a purpose there. There was a working in the garden, taking care of God's creation, naming the animals. And even when Eve was created, we get this phrase that there was no suitable helper. No suitable helper. And oftentimes we think that this is talking about marriage. Well, it's not talking about marriage, but there are people who never get married. And if it was just talking about marriage, then there would be something missing. That's not what this necessarily means. There is a suitable helper, this idea that Eve was created in connection with Adam for a purpose, for a reason. And there will be work, hopefully you understand this, in heaven. We're not going to be bored. And all throughout the scripture, there's this idea that we are made for something. King Solomon talks about this in Ecclesiastes, that he had the time, he had the money, and he had the intelligence to explore every single avenue that this world had to offer in order to find purpose. purpose. And yet throughout the book of Ecclesiastes, meaningless. Everything is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Jesus met a woman, the Samaritan woman, the woman at the well. And he said, what if I can offer you something that truly satisfies, that you're not going to have to keep coming back to the well? There's this idea, even in John chapter 4, the woman at the well, of living for something bigger than yourself. There's something beyond just the protection of our life and the provision of our life. There is this purpose that God has given us. So we're going to be exploring that here on Sunday, this incredible, great commission, right? This incredible purpose that God has placed for us on this earth. And if we don't tap into it, even if we have those idyllic circumstances in our life, and let's just be honest, that rarely happens in different seasons of our life, of perfect protection and perfect provision, without purpose, we will be leading empty lives. So I hope that you join us either in person or through YouTube. God bless.